All right, this is episode 2 of Becoming an Adult. I don't know how many more episodes there are. Honestly, I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing here, but I wanted to try like a different series and I wanted to talk about becoming an adult. One of the things that I've realized growing up is that we tend to grow up with a bunch of cartoons, right? Like I grew up watching a bunch of fucking cartoons, whether that's like stuff like Spider-Man, Ben 10, Batman, whatever the fuck it is, right? We watched a bunch of cartoons growing up. We, especially if you're a guy, you are fully invested into things like superheroes. You are fully invested into um, how great heroes can be and how horrible villains can be. And there's always a good side and a bad side, and somehow the good side always wins. And you've grown up watching all of this, and you've developed a very linear way of thinking, a very black and white way of thinking, if you will. Most people do, most kids do, and that's not their fault. It's just kind of how life has been engineered for us right now. We tend to view it in a very simplistic way, and that's not really a bad thing for most sakes. But you have to have the ability to understand that life is simple, but there could be certain tricky, complex situations involved which will require you to move out of your comfort zone. When you're a kid, you get taught that if you're selfless, if you're a hero, if you're honest, if you want to do good for everybody else, then you are automatically a hero, you're a good person, and things always work out for you. And vice versa, if you're a guy that's selfish, if you're someone that's cunning, if you're someone that's only out for his own personal benefit, that life won't work out for you because you're a bad person. The more I grow older, the more I'm realizing how fucked it is that I grew up thinking so linearly when life feels so complex. You see, as you grow older, you'll start realizing that when you make a couple mistakes yourself in your own life, because I know everybody makes mistakes, everybody fucks up sometimes in their own life. When you make a mistake, it's very easy for you to paint yourself in a bad light because of all these values that are instilled within us, where we're saying, okay, if I do X, then I'm a bad person. If I do Y, then I'm a good person. That if you mess up enough times in your own life, you will either rewrite your self image to become somebody that's considered bad in your own self, which is probably going to lead to a lot of distress, or you will start bending the rules for yourself to make sense as to why you're actually a good person and not a bad person. And either way, what happens is that you start to understand that adulthood requires nuance. Adulthood isn't black and white, it requires nuance because we all mess up. And most people aren't black or white characters. Most people aren't heroes or villains. Most people, including you, including me, are all just great characters. Are there people that are evil in life? Absolutely. Are there people that are very sweet souls in life? Also, absolutely, yeah. But most people in life are in the gray. And adults don't function like children. They don't let their values precede their actions. They let their actions morph their values as they grow older. Adults operate in a sect of being gray. The same person could come across like a dickhead to another person while coming across as a sweetheart to another person. And that's all perspective, that's all opinions, that's all about being gray. You are loved by some, you are hated by some, you're liked by some, you're disliked by some. Some people think you're a hero, some people think you're a supervillain, bro. And that's the fun part about being an adult is understanding that nuance exists. Gray exists. You are free to make mistakes and you will face the consequences of making your mistakes as well. But life doesn't work in a good or a bad way. Because I remember when I was younger and I had done a couple things that, aren't necessarily conventional or traditional or, nice guy behavior. I always felt like a bad person for doing it. Like I developed a very strong guilt complex for doing things that I did growing up. That's experimenting, that's exploring, that's trying new things out. I felt horrible for trying new things out because that's not what a good guy does. And for a lot of people, it's much more convenient to just like bend around the rules and say, you know what, I'll make this one exception. Like what I did is could be bad, but let me just make this exception because I'm a good person overall. And when someone says they're a good person, or when someone asks me, "Oh, is this person a good person?" I always think that's a fucking stupid question to ask. Because how would I know? It's all situationally dependent. People are good and bad situationally. It completely depends on where you are and what you're up to. And that's the interesting part about adulthood. The other point about linear thinking is that we also believe in the words right and wrong. We always believe that those two terms are mutually exclusive. If one person is right, then the other must be wrong. If one decision is right, then the other must be fully wrong. Well, when you get to adulthood, you start realizing that right and wrong choices don't exist. Almost all choices could be right depending on where you're at. It's like taking an MCQ test and you got like three options, and all three are basically right. All three are completely right. Could be. And when we grow up thinking about right and wrong, we always think, oh, one decision has to be right and the other one has to be wrong. That's not particularly true. You have to be able to choose, and you can't really do like a value analysis of it either. You can't like sit there and think, oh, what's the risk reward ratio for this? Like make a decision based on that. No, not really. Sometimes all the decisions in front of you are all right. They're all correct. And you will have to sit there and pick something. You'll have to sit there and make a choice. Take a risk. When you're an adult, you'll have to deal with situations like these. And the important point to understand through all of it is that life is nuanced. Life is complex. Life isn't as simple as it's painted out to be. You can make it simple, obviously. You can be stupid and you can be a retard and you can say, yeah, you know what, let me just not think too much about it. Let me just do whatever I feel like. And fair enough. Honestly, I appreciate that if you get to a spot where you don't want to think. Perfect. Those people tend to lead the happiest lives. And I'm trying to become like that one slowly. But yeah, start understanding that there's nuance in life, especially when you're in doubt. Start realizing that all your choices could be right, all your decisions could be right, and you just have to pick what you feel attracted to in that moment. Good and bad doesn't exist as much as grayness does. And that's a way to become an adult in a way compared to just being a child. And yeah, this is like a realization that I had pretty recently because you conduct like a bunch of self analysis. You conduct analysis on yourself, analysis on people around you, and you start thinking, you know what? Life isn't as simple as I thought it was. I'm not a hero. I'm not the greatest person in life. I have flaws. I mess up a lot in my own life. I make mistakes too. That doesn't make me a bad person. It just makes me in the morally gray section that everyone operates in situationally, purely situationally. I mean, you start seeing life in this way. You start being a lot more present in your own life, and you stop rushing towards having like a having like a this is right and this is wrong type of approach. You start opening up more chess pieces on the chessboard. You start having less of a narrow vision. You start seeing things in a more broad light. You start seeing things from like an eagle's eye perspective because there's so many choices. It's not a mutually exclusive thing. So many choices, so many decisions, so many things to do, and all of them could be right. And that decision making power is only with you. You have to live with the consequences of your decisions too. You have to live with your regrets too. And that is the interesting part of being an adult, understanding nuance. So, yeah, that's episode 2. I hope you had fun. If there's more, I hope there's more on the way. But yeah, that's it for now.